Good day and welcome to this week's Midweek Message, which is called Why Give to God? So why should we give to God? After all, it's not as if God needs our money. And we know that the Psalms teach that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. But the Bible also teaches that there are some very important reasons why believers should give to God. And the first is to cultivate thankfulness. So, because all we have is a gift from God's hand. And so this is proved and demonstrated by Abram way back in the Old Testament when he goes to rescue his nephew Lot. Genesis chapter 14 says, Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. So from God's powerful hand into Abram's hand. And the text says, Then Abram gave him a tenth of everything. So is tithing still applicable today? Well, yes, it is, because thankfulness is still applicable today. So secondly, then, to grow our faith, because by giving to God first, we're trusting that he will meet our remaining needs. So Proverbs 3:9-10 says, Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. That's the top of your balance sheet. Then your barns will be full to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. Thirdly, then, to deepen our discipleship, because how we give to God reveals what's going on in our heart. So Mark chapter 12, Jesus, verse 41, sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. So he's in the women's court there, and these offering bowls, about 13 of them are there. People are walking in and giving as they go in. He's watching the crowd, and many rich people threw in large amounts. But a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, he said, Hey, come, man, I've got something to teach you about what's going on here. And he said to them, Truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others who gave out of their wealth. But she gave out of her poverty, and she put in everything, all she had to live on. So this story contrasts the greed of those who are the teachers of the law with the generosity of the widow. So Jesus wasn't at all impressed with the large amounts that were given by the wealthy out of their surplus, but he was impressed by this little bitty widow who gave a costly offering out of the depths of her heart and her devotion to God. It was from great personal cost. And then lastly, why should we give? Well, so that the gospel can flourish. So through the local church, the gospel is preached, it is taught, it is sung, it is lived, and people are sent out. People who live locally and those who are sent out as missionaries to share the gospel. So the local church is the means by which the gospel goes out. So in Corinthians, this is written in Corinthians chapter 2, 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 to 8. Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. And whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you, so no one's left out, from the wealthy to the poor and everyone in between, each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give. So important, isn't it? Not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves, you know what it's going to say, God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. Father, thank you that all we have comes from your generous hand. I pray that we would respond thankfully to your grace. I pray, Lord, you would give us that heart of generosity, even when it's difficult to give. Help us to be consistent givers, consistent tithers, which shows that we are thankful for your provision in our lives. You've given us the ability to work. And Father, most of all, help us to give generously so that the gospel flourishes in and through our local church out into the world to reach those who don't know you yet. God bless you, friends, and thanks for listening in.